of April 2nd, 2026, the Artemis II spacecraft coasts in near total silence, 115 miles above the surface of the Earth. For 54 years, human spaceflight has been restricted to this exact neighborhood. Low Earth orbit acts as a protective bubble, keeping astronauts relatively close to home and safely within the planet's magnetic shield. The last time anyone ventured past that invisible boundary was Apollo 17, way back in December 1972. Now 4 people are waiting inside that drifting capsule. Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen are strapped into their seats, preparing to break the streak. Orbiting the planet is a massive technical achievement, but leaving that orbit, actually reaching the moon, requires a deliberate, violent, and irreversible exit from the only safe zone known for a half-century. That exit comes in the form of a specific orbiting maneuver called the Trans-Lunar Injection. Once the engine ignites for the TLI, the spacecraft accelerates rapidly. Celestial mechanics take control. There is no abort button that simply puts them back into a neat, safe circle around the Earth. Down in Houston, the mission control room grows quiet. Flight controllers meticulously monitor the autonomous systems, running through their final telemetry checks as the clock ticks toward the exact ignition time of 7:49 p.m. Eastern. The mission management team holds their final poll. All stations report go. Capcom radios the crew with clearance, and the astronauts confirm they are ready to fire. Ignition transforms a stable orbit into an outbound trajectory, trading the relative safety of Earth for the isolation of the deep void. At exactly 7:49 p.m., the silence of orbit breaks. The main engine roars to life, pushing the 4 astronauts toward the moon. This thrust comes from the Orion main engine, located on the European-built service module. This hardware is a refurbished Orbital Maneuvering System engine, a direct carryover from the shuttle program. This unit flew on 19 different missions, including 6 trips attached to the Space Shuttle Atlantis. A workhorse built in the 20th century is providing the fiery bridge required to launch the Artemis generation into deep space. For the crew inside, this burn feels very different from a launch pad liftoff. Instead of a violent explosion, it's a smooth, relentless pressure pushing them into their seats. Producing 6,000 pounds of thrust, it pushes the 58,000-pound spacecraft like a supercar hitting 60 miles per hour in 2.7 seconds. Over nearly 6 minutes, it burns 1,000 pounds of fuel, accelerating to an escape velocity of 24,500 miles per hour. By perfectly executing those physics, the capsule gains the energy required to overcome Earth's gravitational pull and begin the long climb toward the moon. Then, at exactly 7:55 p.m., the engine cuts off. The relentless pressure instantly vanishes. The astronauts are thrown forward against their straps, transitioning rapidly back into the eerie, weightless silence of the void. They are now committed to a path known as a free return trajectory. This orbital map plots exactly how that works. By aiming for a highly precise window in space, the spacecraft utilizes the combined gravity of the Earth and the Moon. That gravity naturally grabs the capsule, swings it around the lunar far side, and slingshots it back toward Earth, ensuring a safe return even if the engines were to fail completely. The math is locked in. For the first time in over 50 years, humanity has intentionally untethered from its home planet, committed to the deep black, and set a course back to the moon. At the conclusion of the Trans-Lunar Injection, the Orion main engine shuts down. The violent, bone-rattling thrust of the launch vanishes, replaced instantly by the absolute weightless silence of deep space. This maneuver locks the spacecraft into a free return trajectory. Gravity alone now dictates the mission's path, pulling Orion around the moon's far side until it naturally slingshots back toward Earth. With the immediate danger of launch over, the crew begins their transition protocol. They unseal and stow the bulky orange pressure suits that protected them during the climb through the atmosphere, preparing for life inside the cabin. The initial adrenaline of the mission is gone. The astronauts are now settling into a 10-day survival coast through a void humanity hasn't touched in over half a century. Outside the window is a 250,000-mile expanse of space. Inside, the astronauts share only 330 cubic feet of living volume. roughly the interior size of a large SUV. Within this cramped environment, an invisible threat begins to take hold. Microgravity immediately starts breaking down the astronauts' bone density, shifting their cardiovascular baseline and causing muscle mass to decay. This biological decay is an existential risk for this flight. The Artemis II crew is preparing to travel further from Earth than the crew of Apollo 13 did in 1970, testing the limits of human health in deep space. Orion's 330 cubic feet of habitable volume functions as a rigid life support bottleneck, where every square inch is engineered to sustain 4 bodies in a vacuum. During the operational cruise of Flight Days 2 and 3, the mission shifts to maintenance. The crew reconfigures the cabin, practices zero-G life-saving techniques, and troubleshoots nuisance alarms. A central part of this routine is a strict medical mandate to combat physical atrophy, 30 minutes of high-intensity exercise for every crew member every day. In low Earth orbit on the ISS, this is solved with massive resistive machines that weigh over 4,000 pounds and span more than 800 cubic feet. Orion requires a deep space alternative. The solution is the Orion flywheel, or Rocky. It weighs 30 pounds, fits inside a shoebox, and operates entirely without electrical power. Surviving a journey to the moon depends on this kind of miniaturization, replacing heavy industrial hardware with ruthless mechanical efficiency. Standard free weights are useless in space. Without gravity, mass has no weight, so a 100-pound barbell provides no resistance to the user. The flywheel utilizes rotational inertia. Pulling the strap transfers energy into the internal discs, spinning them rapidly. This creates eccentric overload. The spinning discs reel the strap back in, forcing the astronaut to resist the kinetic pull during the return. Data from the device shows its effectiveness. By shifting through 3 mechanical gears, this 30-pound system can simulate up to 400 pounds of heavy lifting resistance. The device is integrated into the ship's physical layout. It is bolted beneath the side hatch, doubling as a step to help the crew exit the spacecraft after splashdown. Mastering this single principle of rotational physics is the primary defense against severe muscular atrophy during the transit. Early reports from Commander Reed Wiseman confirm the flywheel functions as intended. With survival hardware verified, the mission's focus shifts to the lunar flyby. By Flight Day 6, the moon has transitioned from a distant light into a massive sphere. Out the Orion window, it appears roughly the size of a basketball held at arm's length. During closest approach, the astronauts will skim between 4,000 and 6,000 miles above the lunar surface. Skimming the surface at this altitude allows the spacecraft to utilize the moon's gravity as a slingshot, bending their trajectory back toward Earth. As the spacecraft slips behind the far side of the moon, the physical mass of the lunar surface blocks the Earth completely from view. This threshold cuts all radio contact with mission control. For 45 minutes, the astronauts endure a total communications blackout, completely isolated from their home planet. The crew uses this period of isolation for scientific observation. The low-angle sunlight on the far side creates long shadows, revealing the depth of craters and ancient lava flows that are often invisible under direct illumination. Deep within this radio silence, the Artemis II crew will break the standing record for the farthest humans have ever traveled from Earth. By testing human performance within these severe 330 cubic foot constraints, the Artemis II crew is validating the survival protocols required for any mission that ventures beyond the safety of Earth orbit.
Thank you for watching.